Thank you for joining Think, Build, Launch podcast. This is an extension of Marl Accelerator. Marl is an early-stage accelerator fund for startups developing deep tech products and services for enterprise customers using 5G technology. Marl aims to create a community of investors, founders, and corporate venture teams in sectors like mobility, AR, VR, autonomous, robotics, and logistics. We invest in next generation of the founders reshaping the world of enterprise. Our program, Think, Build, Launch, features members of the Marl community, including founders, service providers, and investors. And today's guest is actually part of the Marl program, Srinivas Pai. And our title for this program is called Constructing the Future, Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship in Construction. Srinivas Pai is a construction professional with over 13 years of experience in real estate and infrastructure development prior to starting his startup. He is a strong proponent of lean thinking in construction and is always looking out for promising opportunities to transform construction and make it faster, smarter, and efficient. In his current role as co-founder and CEO at Pace Robotics, he guides the product development team with his industry expertise and builds connections with the industry to generate interest and pilot projects that can eventually lead to sales and growth. So, Srinivas Pai, thank you so much. Srinivas Pai, thank you for joining us today. You've spent over 13 years in the construction industry before venturing into entrepreneurship with Pace Robotics. What really motivated you to transform from a traditional construction company to really be, at the forefront of robotics technology in this space?
Right. So first of all, thank you for having me here. Really excited about speaking about construction and speaking about our journey. The motivation for me is in India, construction is not seen as an attractive industry to venture into. So I've seen a lot of my friends. I have one of my friend who actually got into construction because its abbreviation is CE, and he thought it is computer engineering. And so that is the kind of perception that construction has in India. And so just wanted to take up the opportunity that I can change how construction is perceived in on one side, but also there is a lot of opportunities in construction to improve, and the modern technology that today is seen in several other industries has not penetrated into construction. So that was a business opportunity too good to kind of lose out on. So these were the two personal motivations for me to try and do something new in construction.
Srinivas, it's so interesting that you're using lean thinking, because mostly I think of lean thinking relative to manufacturing and that type of industry, right? And so can you explain your philosophy here and maybe a couple of principles that you're using to help advise the construction sector here in the idea of lean thinking?
Right. So my past, the immediate previous experience prior to starting up was as a lean construction consultant. I was helping an industrial project to adopt lean construction practices. So as you rightly said, it comes from the lean manufacturing philosophy. The idea is to reduce the wastage in construction processes. So there is this kind of research output that close to 50% of the work that we do in construction is what we call as waste, because it's not really adding up to the value to the end user. So one of the major things that we do in lean construction is to identify what are these waste activities and try to avoid those waste activities which are done in construction. And second is to kind of enhance collaboration. So construction is one place where there are so many different kind of stakeholders or entities that are working together, and there is a lot of miscommunication happening. So the attempt is to improve the collaboration between all these stakeholders and ensure that there is a seamless communication so that this wastage is reduced. So it is almost the same concept of lean manufacturing, which is to improve the value generation by reducing the waste in the entire process.
So in all of our programs, some are in manufacturing and many are in software development, many are in services. I really want them to hear what you had to say. The idea of avoiding waste and enhancing collaboration, I think even transcends, the construction industry and manufacturing. And so I really, really love that. Is there one or two things that you've learned that really enhance the collaboration aspect?
In construction, you mean? I mean,
Yeah,
from my
yeah,
construction experience.
just in terms of construction. But I just think that you have such a great experience, and sometimes people learn through stories. So maybe a collaboration story from your industry.
Right. So I guess in construction, generally what we have seen is, I guess it's more than collaboration. It's like whenever we come towards the end of a project and there is a deadline set up, at that point, everyone is very clear that, I mean, in India, mostly any kind of a building has an inauguration, which is usually done by a celebrity, a politician, or someone. And many times we see that there is a date set that this particular person is coming to inaugurate the building on so and so day. Once that date is set, then it is very clear for everyone that now we have a date, and on that date all of us has to have to deliver. And most times once that date is set, we kind of achieve that date in some way or the other. But till that point comes, people kind of are not on the same page on when who has to complete what job. So I guess in many times in lean, what we kind of try to recreate that situation where everyone are aware that this is my job, on this date I have to do so and so things. Once that is pretty clear, we have seen that the path for everyone is very kind of transparent. They try to achieve the same thing. So I think overall what I'm trying to say is, when everyone are trying to achieve the same thing, there is a higher chance of us achieving that. And in construction, most times we see only that towards the end of a project, but there are so many opportunities for us to do that at any stage of the project.
Yeah, I love that. In Rochester, the Bausch and Lomb had a really beautiful construction project in the early 2000s. And one of the individuals had actually hired someone that does Myers-Briggs to work with both the engineers and the construction developers. And they ended up saving $3 million simply because of the way in which people communicated. And I can see how you creating that kind of structure really helps create efficiency. Let me move on a little bit. As the co-founder and CEO of Pace Robotics, you're involved in both product development and industry connections. Could you please share some insights into the innovative products and solutions your team is working in order to actually accelerate this efficiency in construction?
Right. So right now we are building a product for wall and ceiling finishing process. So that process basically involves plastering, painting, and putty. So this is basically for interior of buildings. So this is usually done with a fully labor force. Like in India, they don't even use any sprayers or pumping mechanism for either painting or putty or plastering. Mostly the entire work is manual. So we are creating a robot which can autonomously do this entire work. And the human intervention is limited to ensuring that there is a bucket where you have to fill the material, and that material is always filled. So for example, I can keep this robot at the end of a wall and make sure the material is filled. It will go from that end of the wall to the next end fully autonomously and do each of these works by itself without any human intervention. So this is the product that we are currently working on. It's still at a pilot stage. We are doing pilot with several customers in Bangalore and India, and expecting to kind of commercially launch it sometime in the early next year.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so fun. And of course, we'll have to have you back as you actually implement this. And I'm thinking of how well you must know the different stages of the phases in order to create that kind of reliability with the robotics. But then you also had mentioned building connections. Building connections within the construction industry is obviously critical for growth. And so how do you go about establishing and nourishing industry relationships? And I think you actually are very good at actually when you meet people, they're actually at infrastructure level. So I'm really interested in what your role is in playing, these relationships to be able to drive the pilot projects for Pace Robotics.
Right. Right. So, kind of to start with, I must say we have been a little bit lucky because of the COVID scenario. Because at that point, the entire industry was struggling to get manpower or labor to work on their sites. So post-COVID, whenever we approach any construction company, be it the builder, developer, or the general contractor, the moment we say that we are building a robot that can speed up your work, that can do the work at a lower cost, and you don't need as much manpower as you currently need, they are immediately interested and want to do a demo, want to know more about the product. So because of that COVID related and whatever the scenario COVID created, it is very easy for us to reach out to people. People want to hear about new things happening in construction, and there are at least we could name, there are probably 8 to 10 large Indian companies who have active divisions or active people whose job is just to scout for new technologies that are happening in construction and to try out these new technologies. So my job is mostly to find out these companies, to find out this particular person who is scouting for this new technology, and to just kind of present our product to them. And immediately, because of the situation of the labor related situation that is in India post COVID, they are immediately interested and want to try out. So that is the step one. After that, it is we kind of doing a pilot with them. They have their own points, they have a feedback, and we work with them to kind of develop a product that kind of meets all their requirements.
Yeah, that's great. I really have seen over the last probably 10 years, India's relationship with the United States and creating collaboration around the startup environment has been really, really beautiful to see. And so India has seen significant growth in the construction sector in recent years. How do you envision the role of technology-led startups in shaping the future of construction in India and globally, and kind of building that bridge between the United States and India? Is there anything you'd like to say in that respect?
Right. So in India, we are talking about the real estate industry being close to a $1 billion industry somewhere around 2030. And the contribution of construction in India's GDP is pretty huge. The GDP, close to 10% of India's GDP comes from construction. And if we have to meet the needs of the current decade with the labor problem, in the sense the labor is kind of depleting. Most of the current generation, they don't want to get into construction because it's a physically straining job, and there are so many other opportunities. So if we have to reach these demands of our housing and infrastructure, we simply have to adopt technology and find ways of doing more with less. And that is where technology in construction plays a very important part. If we are going by the same ways that we were constructing in the last 2 to 3 decades, we are definitely not going to reach our goals. So that is what we believe will drive the adoption of technology in India. And somewhere, I guess, the India-US relation in technology, from the way that we see, more about from what our company sees it, we have an opportunity that today most of the technology that goes out of India is software tech. With robotics and construction robotics, we see an opportunity where we can start kind of exporting or selling robotics or hardware technology from India to US and other nations, because the market in India today is so big that companies can just focus on the Indian market and start building their products, specifically in construction. And the construction, kind of the cost of construction or the labor rates in construction in India is so low that if I'm able to build something for India, for the Indian market, then it is going to be much more beneficial in terms of cost efficiency the moment I go outside India to any of the Western markets or the Middle East markets or the other Asian markets. So because of this, we feel India and US or India and any other Western countries, the relationship is where India is now going to be the provider of technology, the hardware technology to Western countries. That is something which we are really looking forward to.
I love that. And I do love the fact that you're focusing on the hardware aspect, because I do think that we are a little bit top heavy in terms of software. Like in the 70s and 80s, we heard plastic. In the 2000s, we hear software. And no matter what happens in the metaverse, like we still need places to live and we still need places to work. And I think in terms of modeling, I really love what you've done in terms of mastery of the total addressable market. For those that are building their TAM, I really love the fact that you know that much about it. And just, did everyone hear that? That 10% of the GDP is based on construction in India. That's really remarkable. Well, let's go a little bit deeper in terms of you as a leader. Is there any story or anybody that impacted you, just to give you information that you had it in you to be able to create something and be something and lead something?
I think I can't point at a single person, but I would say, I guess, each of my kind of previous bosses that I have from the first company that I joined to my last kind of the consulting kind of job that I had. So I've kind of been inspired by each of them in terms of how the leadership has to be done. And somewhere what I have learned from each of them is that when you are a leader, and specifically for an early stage startup, you are more about a person who is serving the company than someone who is actually trying to get something from the company. In other way, my job at Pace Robotics is mostly about ensuring that my team has all the resources that is required for them to kind of complete this product. So it could be resources in terms of making sure that there is enough money, making sure that there are enough people, or even through the industry connection, making sure that there is enough kind of people available there who are ready to try out our product. So my idea of leadership is that, especially at a very early stage company like ours, as a leader, you are basically a servant to other people in your company, and also externally, be it your investors, be it your customers. And this is a view that I have got from kind of most of my earlier kind of bosses whom I have reported to.
It's so really interesting that you really are leading from the inside out. Many people know and really care about their customer base and their marketing base, but it really sounds like you care really about your team and their ability to be able to succeed. And it's really neat to hear, that your leadership style is based on kind of servant leadership and designing from the inside out. You've been listening to Srinivas Pai of Pace Robotics. We would like to thank our Marl community, and this program shout out goes to investors of Pace Robotics that include Marl, Pedialyte Industries, Sign IIT, Kashi Industries. And finally, I'd like to thank our producer, Scott Fitzgerald at Rockvox Studios. If you have an idea and want to know more about our program, please connect with me at jennifer@marlaccelerator.com. Please subscribe to our program, and we'll continue to provide information and inspiration about taking your idea from a concept to a business. This is Jennifer Sertle. Thank you for joining us.